Hello and welcome back to Marissa Knits. This is going to be a May and June 2025 what I made update. It's the very beginning of July. I also have numbers and how many grams left in my stash I have. I'm planning to run out of my stash sometime later in 2025. So I've got an update on that. I made this shirt and then a couple other shirts and then a bunch of socks, a cowl, and then a really basic hat. So here we go. This beautiful, glorious top that I'm like in love with the saddle shoulder and the ruffle, but like this shaping is so beautiful and so flattering. This is the Campanula tee by Anna Herman Sorensen, and I actually made it in a fingering weight. This was my first time using knitting for Olive. This is the top. I actually am wondering if this line is from the bottom of my like sports bra right now, but the bottom of it like gets really wrinkly around my abs, and like you see the lines that it makes because it's so tight because of all these decreases. I'm wondering if I should rip all of this back and not do so many decreases and just knit it straight so that this part is looser. So let me know what you think of that. I've got some yardage left of my third ball, and I could make like the waist of this looser. It's meant to be really tight, like the pattern said to make it really tight, and so that's what I did. And I don't like the wrinkles here. I wish it was just a little bit looser. I'm not sure though if it's worth ripping it out, and it might be getting too worn, and I'd have to I think I'd have to rinse the fibers and let them dry. I don't know. I'm just concerned about if it's worth ripping it out because it feels fine. Like it feels comfortable enough when I'm wearing it. So I'm still in the decision-making process. And that's also something I can decide in the fall because this is a very spring color. So maybe sometime in the winter I'll redo this and I'll just save the yarn. So yeah, I love this shirt. I did go down, it's supposed to be sport weight. I went down to fingering weight and then went up to a size US 2 for the needle to compensate, and I didn't have any gauge troubles or anything. This is knitting for Olive Merino in Unicorn Purple. This is the third ball of it. So about 130 some grams. For me, I'm pretty sure I did the size 2. Usually I do like the second smallest size of a pattern, and I absolutely love it. I love the collar, I love the saddle shoulders. I'm gonna be looking for more saddle shoulders for sure. So this was a win, and I've been wearing it. I'm really happy with it. So that top has been pretty popular, and I've seen a lot of other podcasts about it. I'm not sure if that's because I searched for it. But this top, I haven't seen anyone make, and it is so fun. This is the Luminos tee by Yamagara. I know, right? Like, look at that. Look at that. It is a really interesting construction. Basically, you start at each of these corners, and you knit, like, as if you were doing the start of a shawl, these triangles, which you can tell that that's, like, if you were to turn this upside down, it would be, like, the start of a cowl or a shawl. And then you join, and then you have all this shaping all the way up. I actually completely reknit the top of this twice because I think I was running out of yarn, or I had yarn left over and I wanted to make the armhole deeper, I think. So I ripped all of this back. I did the top of this in like one day, and then I ripped all of it back, and then I did this top part of it again. What I love about this is the shaping on the sleeves, and this is actually crocheted on at the end, this line. And this sleeve detail with the blue around the sleeve is added on at the end. So this yarn all of it is Tippy Tree sock yarn. This middle part here is a scrap from their 2021 like February birthday collection. It was their shop birthday. Since I have a February birthday, I bought it off of Reddit from someone's stash because it said February birthday, and I was like, well, that's me. So I made myself socks this, my last birthday, like 4 months ago. I made myself some birthday socks, and I also incorporated a little bit of this into like a headband that I was wearing this winter. And this is the leftover. And then I loved the way the yarn worked up. I was really happy with it and the colors and everything. So I started following Tippy Tree Yarns at the start of the year on Instagram. And then like right away, she announced like, I'm closing, I'm not gonna be dyeing anymore. It's been great, but you know, it's just time for me to stop dyeing right now and close the business. And so this was one of her last, the other like brighter rainbow one with the yellow was one of her last dyes, and it's called Swan Song. So it was her Swan Song. So I got 100 gram, I got a sock set for that, which is this 100 gram skein of it, which I completely used up making this entire shirt. And then the blue is just like the edging, and then some of these stripes. So I didn't exactly follow the pattern, but I mostly followed the pattern for certain things, and then I just barely ran out of the top of it. I'm gonna try to show you, I don't know if it's gonna work. You can see like in the middle of the back, I have like this much of the V-neck that is like finished with the blue instead, and that's because I ran out of my main color like 1.5 inches before the end of my bind off. I just blocked this, so I hadn't seen it since it was blocked. It's a lot better blocked, but the fit is really nice. I feel like it's really flattering on like the chest and the waist, and the shoulders are so fun, but you don't have to knit sleeves at all. You just have some room here, but it drapes in a really nice way, and I really liked it. There is like at the point where you're doing these long rows in the middle where you have a lot of stitches because you're going like down and then up and then down and up all the way around. In that point, like in this part of the top, it does in the middle of the project feel eternal, but the end, like this top part of the project, is seriously like a one-day thing. Like I basically did it twice in the same day. So this part is really fast, and these are both really fun. And I have so many ideas for different ways I could make this top in different colors, because you could do like one color on this side and then one like a different color on this side, and the stripes here could be like mismatched, sort of. Like you could do, you could either sew it up on one side, I think, like you could sew it up in the back if you wanted to do halvesies somehow. You could do, what's it called? Where you like interlock all the parts. I don't remember what it's called. It's when you knit back and forth. I'll put it on the screen. If you were going to do that method of color work, you could figure that out. But otherwise, it's just really fun to have different stripes. And then these sides could be like slightly different from each other, or they could like mirror each other. Like the stripes could be opposite. That would be really fun. I did also knit both sides at exactly the same time. So I pulled from both ends of my yarn cake. So I would do this, and I would do this. Like I would knit and then knit, and then I'd turn back and purl, and then eventually I had just had them on needle the whole time, and it was really easy to join them that way. But you can knit them separately as well. So yeah, I have a lot of ideas for how to use stash, because this uses like 130 grams of fingering weight yarn, and it calls for like a couple of like border colors that are only, I think with the blue, I only use like 10 grams of the blue just to do a couple of the stripes. And you can change the stripes, obviously, in any way that you see fit. And you would get a really nice result. So this is a huge, huge win. Again, this is the Luminos tee. Fun construction. I think I made a size 2 in this one as well. And I'm really happy with the result. I just wore this to Summerfest to see the Killers. And so that's why I blocked it, is because I was like really, really sweaty. I got home and I blocked it like the next morning. Right away, right into my sink with some soap, pulled it out, set it outside, and it was dry like immediately. So, yep, this is my Luminos tee, again by Yamagara. I love you. And finally, my last summer top, which I just made like a week or 2 ago. I actually made this twice, because the first time I didn't really check my gauge, and I was so, it's knit bottom up, and I was so off on the gauge, and I was determined I was just gonna make it work. I was like, it'll just be really loose. I'm not gonna rip it out because I don't want to do the beading. So I was on the straps, and then I like tried it on again, and I had done a row of eyelets here, and I was gonna make another eye cord, and like have the front be like this, because it was way bigger. I had like 4 more repeats of the lace pattern. I was gonna have the front be all like ruffly and have an eye cord in the front that I would like tie, and then the front would be all ruffled with the tie, which I still think would be really cute, but I completely ran out of yarn, and I like everything was just wrong with that. And that was my fault for not really doing gauge. But the inspiration for this pattern is, I've had it saved for a while. This is the Summer Court Tank by Dragon Horde Designs on Ravelry. And they have a lot of beaded patterns. You can see there's beads in this. There's pairs of them here, singles there. And then in order to use up my beads, I also beaded the straps. So there's like 2 beads in the middle of each strap. And the beaded straps are actually one of my favorite parts. Like, I really, really, really love them. And this is where I ran out of green. And this gray was like my backup color, so I just used it on the back of the strap there. Again, I'm using scraps for this. This bottom color is Plant Dad by Goosey Fibers. And the top color is left over from my husband's socks, which was a BFL sock yarn that I picked up on our vacation to London last fall. And then I just did like some random, I took both of the colors in this section, and to make it blend together, I just knit with both colors along every row in like a random way. So I would like do 2 of one color and then 1 and then 3 and then 2, and I would just, any number between like mostly 1s, 2s, and 3s to make it really random and like even, so that no spots were like really blotchy or anything. I just did that for like 4 or 5 rows when I knew I was running out of the teal, in order to make the transition kind of ombre-like. But yeah, I had gotten these teal beads for last fall. I made a Halloween cowl, the Witch's Brew one by Telly Bean Knits, Stephanie Lotvin. I have another cowl of hers I made that I'm about to show. But last fall I made that, and someone else on Ravelry had put beads on theirs to give their cat's eyes. And I have a cat. It's actually her birthday today. Rosie! Do you want to come say hi? She's not going to come. She's probably sleeping. So I got these like teal beads because they were the closest that Joann's had, because Joann's wasn't closed yet, so that's where my beads are from. They were the closest thing that they had that could look like her blue eyes that I liked for that cowl. I had like a lot of leftover beads in the tube, like so many. Like I used this much on that cowl, and then I had like this much of the tube left. And that's why I ended up having to do them all over these straps. There's just like, this is a mix of beads, and there's one of them that's still a bit small for my Flegel needle, because I got a Flegel needle that's better for like a light fingering yarn and not for a full fingering yarn, and so it's kind of hard to like get all of the yarn through some of these beads. So I think if I'm ever going to get into like a lot more beading, I'm going to need a slightly smaller Flegel needle. I just should have gotten the smaller one in the first place. I don't really know what I was thinking. I just didn't understand how they worked when I bought it. So it was too late by the time I got it, and I ended up just using it the whole time. The first time I knit this, felt like it was taking forever, and it was so frustrating. And then after I ripped the entire thing out and then cast myself on only 12 of these lace repeats, which I think is actually smaller than the smallest size of the pattern, but only by a little bit, only by like 1 repeat. But that's just how extreme my gauge problems are, I guess. I also went down a needle size at that point, and as you can see, it fits perfectly. I even guessed like the strap right. I'm not wearing like the best bra today for showing you all my different makes, but it works. And so I'm really, really pleased that the straps are the right length, because I absolutely hate redoing straps. I did not want to redo them. I altered like the shape of the bust, I think, too, because the first time I was trying to do like the really deep V-neck, and like it would have been like this, the way it was. It like the top of it wouldn't have been the right cut for me, I think. So I don't know. It is a really, really nice pattern, and I recommend it. I just had to make some changes to my gauge and my stitch counts, basically, to get it to fit me the way I wanted. So this is really comfortable. This has been a great summer knit. I know you're like, why is she wearing wool for all of her summer knits? I live in Wisconsin, and so a lot, even summer, compared to where many of you live, it is still like not that hot here in the summer, and we don't really use air conditioning much in our house, so I don't always wear these at home, but when I'm at other people's houses where the air conditioner's on, and people really blast their air conditioner. Air conditioning makes me so cold. Like, grocery stores are freezing, most stores are freezing, so when I'm out anywhere that has air conditioning, it is nice to have some wool. And I feel like wool is pretty breathable, even in the summer. So when it's just like a little bit of wool on your body, it still feels comfortable and breathable to me. It doesn't bother me. So yeah, this is the Summer Court tank. It is my newest summer shirt. It's the lightest one, the one that makes the most sense for summer. And I'm pretty happy with it. I used up 2 entire like scraps of yarn. This one wasn't really a scrap, it was just a half skein. It was like a 50-gram skein. And that wasn't enough to make my husband socks, so I don't know what I was thinking there. All right, I do have a cowl to show. This is another Stephanie Lotvin cowl. It's the Pluck cowl. This is for my mom. She wanted a cowl to wear for Christmas next year, and I'm way ahead of the game, which is amazing. She wanted like blues, and so I just had these blues available in my stash. At one point, she also really wanted some of the like burgundy smashed berry color, but we decided she didn't actually want that to be involved, which is good because I'm obsessed with that color and I'm kind of hoarding it. I sort of talked her out of that because I couldn't like quite make it work, and I did change some of the colors in this design because like I changed around which sections would be which colors because I wanted to use up as much of this blue as possible. This is just a ball of sock yarn from Goosey Fibers. The color is like a lot more tonal than I was expecting from the pictures because I ordered like the natural sock base and it like didn't pick up the browns. I don't know. It's almost like I got the wrong color on this one. I have so much of their yarn, like a ridiculous amount. so much of the yarn, and I just ordered their Advent again for this year. So I'm about to get my second Advent, and I love them, and I'm still going to buy from them, but this skein was not it. It's supposed to be Stellar's J, and it was supposed to have, like, a lot of variegation in it, and mine, on the base that I got, is just, like, a blue and, like, slightly greenish in some spots, tonal. Anyway, so I didn't really know what to do about that, so especially because I, for some reason, ordered one without nylon in it. I think I just wanted to try it. I don't remember what I originally was gonna do. I had no plan, I just thought it was so pretty. So 30 grams of it were in my sister-in-law's shirt for her birthday, and she absolutely loves it. It looks gorgeous on her. So maybe in a couple weeks when she moves back here, I can film a clip of it if anyone wants to see. And as you can see, I still haven't used it up. So I need to figure out a plan for that scrap. It matches something, so I have some ideas. But anyway, this is my mom's cowl. I'm gonna give it to her like decently soon. I ended up sticking to more of the pattern than I thought I would because I was planning on like not doing all the stripes. And even so, you can like tuck the stripes inside so that you see more of the lace. I don't like making lace. So this section, I was making a lot of mistakes. I mean, we were like on vacation, like playing board games and stuff during this section. This, I basically knit the entire thing on vacation. I did from like here to here in like one day. And then the rest of it from here all the way through this color work. And then a lot of the lace I did on our travel day on the planes back. So this again is like a 3 or 4 day project for me. I got a slow start on it, but it was a nice vacation knit. So yeah, it's a nice wintry color for my mom that she can wear for Christmas over a dress, and like she's big on cardigans, so with a cardigan, I'm really, really happy with it. The white and the blue I think is really pretty. Wait, I said this was 3 colors. It's actually 4 because there's a navy, which I basically used up the navy. I have like 3 grams of it left. And then this tweed is kind of involved in the navy stripes. And then this one, the blue is kind of calming it down, but it's like just a standard white. Yet somehow it ends up looking similar to this tweed, but this tweed is like very blue in person. Like if I just had the balls, you'd be like, those look nothing alike. But in the cowl, when it's spaced out with the blue, they just happen to look very similar, which is interesting. I would have been okay with the white being brighter, but it got calmed down a lot. I changed the way the colors were supposed to be at the end. So I did one of the tweeds for these last like couple rows, and then a navy bind off. So yeah. I have to admit the lace was worth it, even though I really hate making lace. But I'm unlikely to make this pattern again. I'm glad I did. It's really cute. It was fun. It was good. It's gonna be good for my mom. I don't need one myself. I have some, I don't know. When I bought this, I bought like 4 for patterns at the same time. So I have like 2 other new cowls of hers to try before I decide if I'm gonna go back to that one again. So that was the Pluck cowl, Stephanie Latfin. I'm very pleased with that. I need to take this clip out to show the next one. Here we go. I made this, I think in May, maybe even in April. This is a hat for my friend for this coming winter. This is another one that like the yarn looked different online and different in the skein, and then different knit up. Like when I had the skein, the pinks and the greens looked like a lot brighter, like they were supposed to. And then when I wound and knit it up, it's very like chill. And I was hoping it would be like bright, bright, bright. But I mean, fluorescent yarn is hard to find. And I think it's gonna match her coat anyway, because her coat is like this green color. It's kind of like lime-ish, but then like make it a little more, I don't know, it's like this, but more yellow. Like a little bolder. It's like a yellow, lime, like sage. It's like a toned down chartreuse. Anyway, that's what color one of her winter coats is. So I made this double layered hat, and there's a shimmer to it. You can see if I get close enough. It's a sparkle yarn. The yarn is called Love Story. It's by Forbidden Fiber Co. Yeah, I looked through so many sparkle yarns. I sent her some pictures. This is the one she picked. I had leftovers again. I don't know why I keep having leftovers, but I'm gonna have to make like a hat. I think these would be good together as well. So I'm gonna have to make one of those hats that like is one color from here to here, and then it's reversible, because this is reversible as well, actually. I'm gonna have to make one of those hats where it's like one color on one side and the 2 brims are like different colors, and then so you have like 3 or 4 options for how you can wear the hat. I was getting like pooled, the colors were pooling when I had my first stitch count, which was really pissing me off because like, look at that, see how much that's pooling? It just happened with the stitch count that I had. So over time, I think my gauge adjusted a little bit, and then I adjusted the stitch count as well. And so now the part that pools is just gonna be on the inside, unless she wants to turn it inside out and wear it the other way. And the random non-pooled part that I prefer is this side of it. I don't really use a pattern. I just start with 6 stitches, and then I increase every row for a little while at those 6 points. And then when I get to like 72-ish, I think, I start doing knit rows in between the increases, but it's like sections of 6. And then, so you'll have a multiple of 6. So I think either like 120 or 126 or 132. Those are the stitch counts that I'm between for like adult hats. And then you just knit that straight for like a million years. And then eventually, when you can tell that you can fold the brim up enough, that the brim will fold and it will still be below the ear here and above the ear. Once you get to that point where you've practiced with the brim and your needles are up to here and you're about at the point where you can see the increases from the first one, then you just decrease up to the top and then you mourn that you have leftovers. But it's pretty loose, and like I would have had to make it, even if I made it tighter and like more saggy, I would still have leftovers. So yeah, that's my like love story sparkle hat. And that's a Christmas gift, and it's already done. So that is very, very, very fun. Then if we back up to May, I have like a volunteer. I'm a church music director. So I have one of my volunteers. Her birthday was around Memorial Day. Oh, there's my cat's snack. Let's see if she comes over begging for me to guard her while she eats it. So I had this yarn that I had gotten, I think on Yarn Swap Reddit. It's also Tippy Tree. I can even get out the color name. Well, there's no point because you can't have it because they're not dying anymore. This is a Tippy Tree color. I think it's like an autumn equinox set maybe. It's hard to tell with my lighting today, but it's like brown and tan and gray. It's like a mix of warm and cool. It's a brown color. And I made her socks with this yarn, and I have a clip of that. I gave them to her for her birthday, so I don't have them anymore. Now the birthday girl is crying at me because she wants me to go guard her while she eats her snack. She's coming over. Here we go. This is the birthday girl. She turns 6 today. Hi, baby. You're so beautiful. Since it's her birthday, I have to go watch her eat. So I'll be right back. So that was the first of the socks I have to show, and then obviously I have more. I'm going to show this first because I just memorized the name of the designer and I don't want to forget it. So these are the Eris, E-R-I-S socks by Audrey Borrego. And the yarn is Knit Picks Stroll, and it is so much less nice than literally any other sock yarn I've ever worked with. It has a scratch to it, and I think it would be pretty sturdy actually, and I know it's affordable, but I don't love it. So I have this color that has a lot of flecks in it in orange and purple. So these are for one of my cousins. I'm making socks for all the women in my family that don't already have socks. My grandmas already have socks. On one side, my mom's side, it's the maternal side favoritism, I guess. Both of those grandparents are living, so they each have 2 pairs of socks. And my godmother, who's my mom's sister on that side, she has 2 pairs of socks as well. So that's the maternal privilege, I guess. But then on my dad's side of the family, I've just made 1 for my grandma. I should make her a 2nd pair. Maybe I will for this Christmas, actually. Write that down, Marissa, before you forget. So these are for my other cousin on that side who doesn't already have socks. And the pattern's cute. I think it's not the right pattern for flax because it's so busy, but they look really nice on camera. They're like a cream color, And what's cute is that they kind of match her mom's socks because her mom had requested purple. So they kind of like have the same purple that's shared between them. So this, I don't think I actually made it next out of this collection of socks I have, but I just can't remember at that point. So I'm almost done, with all of these family members. Then I have these socks, which are a gray color with a lot of really pretty flecks in them. There's like a couple green flecks and like red ones and just various colors. I don't have great lighting today, but you can kind of see it. So these are the Seasons socks by Summer Lee. There's a lot of slip stitches in them, so it kind of makes them like crunch together on the top unless you're wearing them and stretch it out a little bit. So these are for the godmother with 2 pairs of socks. These are for her daughter. One of her socks was light gray, and so we were all at Thanksgiving last year, and she showed them to Tony, my cousin, and then she was like, I want something like that. So I did a different pattern, but I did a very similar light gray as what her mom has because that's what she wanted. So these are super fun. And yeah, I don't have a lot to say about them. I followed the pattern, I think, pretty well. There's twisted stitches there. I might have changed the heel a little bit, but it was so long ago I don't remember. I think I changed the slip pattern on the heel to be more like continuous from the slip pattern in the regular socks. So then to bounce back over to my dad's side of family, he is one of 4 brothers. So there's like 3 aunts that have like married into the family. The one that had a March birthday, I'm done with hers already. And then, so we have Purple Sock Aunt and her daughter, which you just saw. They have summer birthdays, so I did theirs next. So basically, I just went through the year. And this cousin also has a July birthday. So I just went through the starting from the beginning of the year in order of birthdays was the order I worked on the socks. And for some reason, like this one came out way darker than this one. I don't know if I don't know why that would happen. I think part of the skein was just like lighter and part of the skein was darker. But this is I had a very large ball of Wonderland sock yarn. It was like 130 grams, I think. I would need to look to find out what the color is, but I think it was it's like a recent sock set that Wonderland Yarns did. So I got this purple color for that aunt. And the pattern is Moose Ehrlichen. I made a bunch of these last winter, so I've talked about it many times, and I will link it. It's by French-Canadian designer, so the pattern's also available in French, and the names are in French. And it has a really nice cable pattern on the top that I finally have memorized, and then it's just ribbed on the foot. But there's a faux cable on the sides. I like to continue the faux cable on either side of the foot to like border the top of it. So that's a modification that I've made, is the outmost of the ribs on top of the foot. I just continue the faux cable all the way down. And there's not a lot else to say about these. This yarn is so pretty. I really, really love it. This is editing Marissa, so I didn't even tell the story about when I made these socks. I brought this ball of sock yarn and a needle with me on the plane to go on vacation in Montana a couple weeks ago, like 3 weeks ago. And our first plane was late by like an hour or more, so we completely missed our connection. And rather than wait around an entire day for the next flight that went to Montana, because there's not that many of them, we ran around O'Hare like maniacs. And I had used like whatever, my phone was still on airplane mode and we were like in the air, I think, when I did this. I was just zooming in on like the part of the country where we were trying to go, where I've never been before. And we were supposed to fly into Bozeman, and spoiler alert, I've still never been to Bozeman, so that'll tell you something. And we were like, we could fly into Billings where she lives, but she'd have to wait around for us, and we're still like many hours away from Yellowstone, which is where we were supposed to spend the next day before, like after that, my sister-in-law was going back to work, And so we didn't have other opportunities to go to Yellowstone. We had just only planned for that one day. Anyway, so I had zoomed in on that map and I was like, does like Jackson, Wyoming have an airport? Like, where are we? I threw out Boise out there, but it's too far north. It was too far away. So we ended up running around the airport and begging the information desk people to put us on the flight that was like only 45 minutes later, that we could have missed that flight as well if we hadn't hurried, if we hadn't hustled. We begged them please put us on this flight to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And they were like, I mean, okay. So we flew there and rented a car and drove to Idaho where our Airbnb was, and then had a lovely day in Yellowstone. Yeah, so I cast on this sock on my second plane of the day, the one where we accidentally were going to Wyoming and we weren't planning to go to Wyoming at all. Wyoming was gorgeous. Now we're gonna have to go back and actually vacation in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Shout out to you, Wyoming. We love you. Anyway, so on this plane, I got to the part where I was supposed to do the cables, and I was like, I didn't bring a cable needle. What happened was, also, I didn't want to get out my whole iPad, and I had been planning on learning, doing a new pattern with this. Like, I had the Thor's Mint socks that you're about to see. I had that pattern saved. I was thinking maybe I would do that for this, and I had like one or two other things in mind as well that I might knit for myself this fall. So I had a couple patterns I had downloaded to do for the first time, but after like running around at O'Hare like a crazy person and getting so sweaty, I had to like change my shirt, and we were carrying all of our luggage because it was just, after that experience, I was like, I need to knit something familiar. I need to knit something I know in my heart. So that's why I made the Moose Anglican socks. And since I wasn't planning on making them, I didn't have a cable needle, and I forgot that I needed one until I got to the row where I was supposed to cable. So, on a dark plane to the wrong state on my way to vacation, I used, these are my earrings. They're like double piercing earrings from Etsy. For the entire trip, beginning on that plane in the dark that I could barely see anything, I used this earring as a cable needle. And this is like peak knitting experience. Running through O'Hare with like a backpack just full of yarn, because you will not allow the airplane workers to take any of your yarn and check it under the plane for fear of you never seeing it again. And then accidentally like using your earring as a cable needle. This is a great cable needle, to be honest. I'm probably never gonna buy a real cable needle now because I can just use this earring. So I would like take it out for the rows that I would need it, and then I would have it like stabbed into my yarn like this for a while. Kept falling all over the place, but I didn't lose any of my earrings, and I finished these socks entirely with my earring cable needle in like 4 or 5 days on that trip. And I did have to buy new I think I had both of my 9 inches along to make them, I'm pretty sure. I did have to buy new needles to do the toes because I've left my size 0 carbon double points at home because they're so pointy and scary. I'm like, these are a real weapon, and TSA would be like pretty warranted to confiscate them from me because they're a weapon. They're also for knitting, but they're dangerous, honestly. So I was like, I'm not going to bring my favorite toe needles on the plane. And actually, my sock cables, my sock 9 inches are a size 1. So I bought like some plastic size 1. They're like triangular needles there. They're really long as well, like super long. And there's 6 of them in the set, which is very strange. So I bought those at the yarn store where I got my yarn in Billings. It's called Yarn Bar. It is in downtown Billings, Montana. I think it's like basically the only yarn store there that's not like a box store, a craft store place. So yeah, it was great. Recommend them, recommend the trip. I knit at Yellowstone. I knit a lot in the car. I knit just hanging around. And I did some stress knitting on the airplane with my earring. Love that. Love that. Yeah, so that's the actual story of me making these purple socks. And I don't know why I forgot it before, but I'll blame the heat. And there you go. And then finally, I'm down to my last of my aunts. This aunt, like, she doesn't feel like my aunt because she's my husband's age, and I was like 24 when they got married. So, yeah, because of like the ages of the family, she technically is my aunt. So my uncle's wife, who I love and should call my aunt, but I don't. I'm in the process of making her these. I don't know what the yarn is because I bought it in a ready caked form on like a random Reddit post of someone who had tons of cakes of leftover fingering. We're pretty sure, like, hoping it's sock yarn. It has like enough of a stretch to it that I think it's probably sock yarn, but I don't know for sure. And then this pattern it's called Thorsmond. I'll link it, and it's a free pattern by Filcolana. The design is by Rachel Sogard. Yep, Rachel Sogard is the designer, and she, Filcolana hired her to make this design. You can't really see it on this variegated color. I would have to use more of a tonal one, but there's like a diamond pattern with pearl bumps here, and then the slip stitch there, and then cables on either side. You don't really need a cable needle to do these cables. I didn't. It's a free pattern, so I can explain it. So on the row before the cable, you like do 2 wraps into that stitch to make it longer. And on one side, like the first one, when I get to it, I just drop the long stitch off, keep it in the front, keep knitting, and then pick it back up. And since it's long, I haven't had problems with it like unraveling too much. I just grab it with my fingers and like lengthen it a little bit if I have to. But then on the other side, the longer stitch is on the outside, like the opposite side. So usually right after I've done it, I slip back and undo the loop so that it's just elongated, and then I can knit into it the next row. Or if I forget to do that, then I slip through and drop it off like the extra loop so that it's just longer, and then I slip back and then I cable it. So I hope that makes sense. I can do a short of me knitting it if you really need to see. I don't think it'd be very interesting though. There's a lot of ways of cabling without cable needles, as long as it's a pretty simple cable like this. So I do these cables without a cable needle. Well, what happened is I just cast on somewhere without bringing one because I didn't think I needed one. I thought they were more like faux cables, but it turns out they're real cables. So this is the first sock for my aunt. I changed the heel to be a slip stitch heel just because that's what I'm used to. Also, the pattern and then the heel are both an odd number. I'm not used to odd numbers for my heel, but I made it work. And then I have just started the gusset of the second one. We're gonna go to the grocery store tonight. And you know how I love me some grocery store sock knitting, but picking up after the heel and turning the heel, I could turn the heel if it was the heel that I have memorized in a grocery store. But since this one's an odd number of stitches, and the pickups are like slightly different because of that, I was like, I can't do that in the grocery store. So I've preemptively done it today so that I can do my grocery shopping knitting like I need to in the car. And in the store tomorrow, we have a drive because we're going tubing on a river for 4th of July tomorrow. It's going to be very bougie. I think I'm going to make like one of those fruit pizzas that has like cream cheese and like a cookie base and then like tons of fruit all over the top of it. I'm going to bring cucumbers. I got some like fancy snacks from Home Goods. I think I'm going to make some like cold brew espresso and like put it in a container and like bring it along. Like it's going to be very, very fancy snacks. And we're going to sit on the river for like 5 hours with no thoughts in our heads, do absolutely nothing. I'm not going to knit on the river because that would be crazy. It would just get wet and ruined, and that's obviously a bad idea, but I'm going to knit in the car. If you're a sock knitter, you do have to plan out sometimes, or I find that I do anyway, I'll be like, oh, I have a show to do, or we're going over here to our families for this event, or I'll be at this thing, or I'll be in the car for this. So I have to make sure that I, sometimes I have to stop whatever else I'm doing in my life and just like knit through the heel turn, like strategically on purpose, or like finish the decreases for the gusset on purpose, and then set it down and like mindlessly knit the foot when I know it's the right occasion for it. I know that might be crazy, but you have to be strategic when you're a sock knitter. You can't just be like, so there's times where you have to plan out what part of the sock you're gonna knit on what day, and that occasion is one of them. Finally, this has been a very long-winded video. So, something incredible for my stash busting has happened. I'm just gonna grab it. Something very good has happened for my stash busting. Last week at work, I had a day where I got like a terrible headache. And as it was kind of coming on, I was like trying to work, but I was kind of taking a bit of a break and just scrolling on Ravelry. And I don't know how I ended up there, but I ended up on Stephen West's Ravelry page, and this was last Tuesday, so only 9 days ago. So I went to his patterns on Ravelry, and it just put all of them in alphabetical order, and there's a lot of Stephen West patterns, and I don't know why I was there because I don't make a lot of stuff of his. I've only made 2 shawls, and that's it, and they're not even the popular ones. They're 2 like, I like the Fiberfest shawl. That one is maybe sort of popular, but it's not as popular as his like giant fall knit-alongs that have the 5 full skeins of yarn in them. Anyway, so I was just going through like page after page after page in alphabetical order, and then I saw this. It's called Houses of Reykjavik, and I opened the tab of it like immediately because I was like, I've never seen that before. Like, what is? What is, like, show me. Well, like, I don't know what this is, but I need to see it. And immediately it became very clear because it said right away, like, this is great for scraps. Like, this is a project for scraps. It's fingering weight. It's a project for sock scraps. It's a project for scraps. And you can tell from it, like, I was just, like, immediately in love. And I was like, could I make this? And then there's a schematic that shows you exactly how many grams, and it was available even without the pattern, even before the pattern was ready. The schematic was available, it was right there, that showed you exactly how many grams every section of it was. And I immediately started going through my spreadsheet and thinking through what I had, like what colors would go together for which sections. So I'm like, well, if I need 28 grams for this, I only have so many like larger sock scraps that are like neutral, and that if I need to use this color for this, I can't be making a lot of triangles with it or I'll run out, like that sort of thing. Like I need to save some of my larger scraps for particular sections of the pattern. Anyway, so I've already started that, and it's been really, really, really fun so far. I have a lot of loose ends for the triangle parts of it, but what's also fun, as I was scrolling, I saw the part where he has just like the section inspired by houses, like the middle parallelograms. That's what you start with. So you start by knitting this long string of parallelograms with just back and forth sideways with like short rows and stuff for the shaping. You just start with that. Here we go, there's mine. And you do that first, and then you pick up and short row the triangles on the top. And this is just so delightful and so fun. Like, I was just like imagining this imaginary little village where it's like, well, this person has a blue house and this person has like moss growing on their roof, and then this person has like stone steps, and like this person's pink, and then this person has green windows. Like, I'm just imagining this little village where all these houses are next to each other, and it's so delightful. A lot of my roofs are like blue. My roofs are very cool toned. Not me calling them roofs, they're little triangles. They don't mean anything. But this was so fun. And anyway, I can just, you know what? So, there we go. Very like babushka-ish, actually. You could just make yourself a hood. I know he has like hoods like this too. I bet he has the one like balaclava pattern of his is actually similar shapes to this, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, so I was looking for like the full yardage and like looking at buying it. And I still didn't know, because I don't follow Stephen Best very closely, I didn't know it was a new release. And I'm on there and it says this is coming out June 26th of 2025. I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, like that's in the future. Like that's not for 2 days. Like it's not out yet. So I ended up taking a half sick day that day because my headache was debilitating. I ended up sleeping on the couch for like a couple hours, which is crazy that I didn't even like get knitting done. That's how you know that I needed the sick day, is because I had to nap through a lot of my headache. I took a bunch of cold medicine. It was just crazy. And so I started planning out and separating a bunch of my like yarn ideas. So these are some of the yarns for like top of it. I don't think the white and the leftover stroll are going to be involved, but these are some of the yarns for like the top part of the project. These are the two for the brioche section I'm about to do next. I actually started it and did 3 rows of it today, and I had this darker one as the main color because I thought that like I was looking at it and I thought that this would sit in a nice way on top of the main color if it was the contrast color. And then I got 3 rows in and I looked at the wrong side, and the wrong side had this like featured as the knit stitches, and it was so pretty. And I looked at it and I was like, Marissa, you had so much fun doing this. Like this was chill. These 3 rows of brioche, like it did take you like an hour or 90 minutes. Like yeah, it took you a while, but it wasn't strenuous. Like you really, really, really want it to be right. You want this purple to be on top. So I ripped it out and I haven't redone it yet because I knew I needed to film today. I was like, you were being naughty and not filming it. And this is the project that's on my terrible size US 5 needles that are like someone's set of interchangeables from the 70s that I inherited from my volunteer knitting group that I was in with a bunch of older ladies when I was in middle school. My only size 5 needles that I own are still those interchangeable sets, and like one of them, the point of it's not even good. It's like has like a defect. It's like crooked. Like I think it's just like a manufacturer's defect because it's been like that for a long time. And my cable length is a bit short, so this was really squished onto the cable and you can't really see. You wouldn't have been able to see this at all if I had left it with the brioche section picked up. So I thought that I would just go ahead and show you my progress in the first week of the Houses of Reykjavik pattern. So this is going to use a bit over 300 grams of sock leftovers. I think I'm going to leave it in. I had a clip from May, like the end of May, of me updating my stash spreadsheet count, like the numbers, how many grams I still have to do and everything. And in that video, I'm like, I'm so burned out. I don't know what to do with these sock leftovers. That's no longer the case. I'm invigorated. I have a plan to use up some sock leftovers. And this is my plan. There's a lot of test knits where people made this really symmetrical and they just took like 4 colors that they had and made like a 4-color shawl. And I'm sorry, but that's kind of boring. I'm sorry, but I don't like it that way. I like it like this. I like my fake village of Scandinavian or Icelandic multicolored houses. I love this. So a lot of this, the vast majority of this is Goosey Fiber scraps, first of all. But a lot of this is from my Advent. This is just a Wonderland yarn set for the brioche. I think this is going to be really nice fall colors too, because I have purple. I have a lot of like tans and like grays and purples, and then like jewel tones and fall colors that I have for the top and the bottom section. So yeah, so I'm done with the middle section. Then you're supposed to knit up and do the top, but I decided to do the brioche next before I get tired. Like exhausted of the project and like ready for it to just be done, I'm gonna do the smaller rows, the top rows of it at the end, because it won't feel, there won't be 500 stitches and it won't take me an hour to do a row at that point, so it won't feel like I'm slogging like row by row at an exhaustive pace all the way to the end. So I'm gonna do the really long rows now. Also, they use a lot more yarn, so I don't want to like run out of larger leftovers that I might need. These are just some of the blues and grays. There was like different or like more yarns in this bag of little scraps, but a bunch of them have joined this already, and so they're a lot smaller. Then this is going to be most of like the top of my shawl. And then the gray from my cousin's socks is going to be the main color for the chunk after the brioche near the border. And then I have these. They're a little bit of a mess right now. As long as the yardage works out, I have these 5. This is green and this is black. They're kind of blending together. I have these 5 colors planned for like the stripes against the gray background at the bottom. So this is very like fall color vibes. Got some burgundy, some orange, and then some like earthy green, and then some light gray with like some flax in it. So I'm just really, really, really excited about this giant like fall like blanket scarf. Yeah, unfortunately, the way the triangles are, I didn't have like a way to knit the edges onto the wrong side easily to hide them in a nice way. And with my shawls, like there's always like a little piece of it while you're wearing it that you can sometimes see the wrong side. So I want to like take some time to do these weave-ins nicely so that the wrong side doesn't look like total trash when you have like just the corner of a wrong side like this coming over your shoulder at one point. I don't want it to look ugly. So anyway, this is gonna take a giant chunk out of my sock leftovers. Oh, and the other part of that, here we go. So this is like this is most of what's left of my advent after making like some of the houses. So you can see there's still some in here. I might involve some of them in a t-shirt, like a pastel t-shirt, maybe another luminos tee that's pastel instead of neon, or I could just make socks with these. I have some ideas, but there's not very much of it now, so it's a more manageable size. So yeah, so that's very exciting. That's all I have on my needles right now is that second sock and then that shawl that I've just cast on. One thing about Stephen West's directions, and I respect him for this, but some of it, like, it's a bit long. Like, some of it could have been more condensed, or there's a point when he's teaching you how to, like, pick up for the triangles. There's a bunch of photos amidst the instructions row per row, and I'm not kidding, where it's, like, row 1's on one page with a bunch of photos, and then, like, row 2 is explained at the bottom, and then there's more photos. It's, like, a 2.5-page thing with photos everywhere, just for 4 rows. So what I did, because I was watching YouTube and my iPad was propped like sideways, so it's at like the half-page view, and I couldn't see all the directions at once, like not even remotely. So I just made myself a shorthand where like this is all of the instructions to make one triangle. This is all of them. It's not very much at all. So I wrote myself like the shorter version of how to do the triangles, and I absolutely nailed it. Like, I was killing it. It was going really fast. It was fun. Not a big deal. So I have had to shorthand the instructions a little bit for myself. I think they're just too expansive on the page. But he knits for like people all over the world with different tastes, different levels of English, different skills. I feel like his patterns are very much a gateway for people who haven't like tried new techniques before. So I appreciate that he's explaining everything very well, but sometimes it's so much that I'm like, I just read something and I'm like, but what do I do? And then I have to scroll, and then it will say like row 1 like a long ways later, and I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna skip down to where it says row 1 of the next section. So yeah, that's just a me problem. Like I'm just a speedy girl. I'm just trying to get through it real fast. So thank you for joining me for this whole marathon of summer knits. I'm gonna have a giant 300-gram blanket scarf the next time I see you, and I will be wearing that come fall. So there's no shame in making it in the summer. I'm gonna be making some hats. Probably gonna take a little break from my sock marathon. I'm ahead of schedule on it. And I need to make my friend a baby sweater, like a baby hat, because she's finally having her shower. Her son's like a month and a half old. She was supposed to already have her shower, and then that day she like emergency had to go have her gallbladder out instead. So I think I'm gonna try and make a little sweater for her son in time for her rescheduled shower. But I don't like making baby things, so I've like put that off. So I'm gonna probably work on that soon. So that's what you can expect from like my July video, is like some baby stuff and then getting rid of a lot of sock scraps. I hope that you're staying cool if you're up here in the northern hemisphere. Good luck to us. The weather is like really, really crazy. And happy birthday to my cat. Wish her happy birthday in the comments if you want, and I'll read them to her. I hope you all have a great day, and happy summer knitting or winter knitting if you're down in the southern hemisphere. Bye-bye! Good evening. It's the end of the day on May 31st, so I'm going to do our monthly spreadsheet update here. All I have, for the most part, is project leftovers, and it gets really hard and like mentally draining to figure out how to completely use up leftovers all the time, when it actually is easier to knit with leftovers if you have more of them. Sometimes it's easier to knit with more of them. Like you can, I've made a lot of brightly colored and a lot of like striped things for myself, and it's like I don't always wear them anyway. So I'm debating like giving up the knit the stash down to 0 dream. It's a nice dream, but I'm realizing it might not actually be that fun to run out of yarn, because like the amount of sock scraps I have is just crazy. And like in my defense, a lot of this is like gifts for people and like leftovers from gifts I've made in the last couple years. And so I feel like none of this is my fault, and I don't feel like any of it's a problem. Like my stash is not a problem at all. Anyway, but I messed up my spreadsheet quite a lot in April. What happened was, as I was knitting down some projects, I kept updating how many grams I had left, but I added yarn to the spreadsheet at the same time. So like the amount of yarn like still to knit, the number of grams like in stash yet to be knit, like wasn't accurate. As like I couldn't figure out, and I tried to do the math from just subtracting from the total what I had already made earlier in the year, and you think that would have worked. But because I ripped out and redid a project in March, I ripped out something I made last year and re-knit it, but I also included some things from stash in the remake, and so then I put them into my March total, some of those grams, but it's like not exact because I didn't do all the math as it was happening. And so anyway, my April total is so incorrect that it only came out to me knitting 8 grams per day, which is close to accurate, but I think it's a little bit low. I think some mistakes were made there. But in May, I knit 448 grams, which comes out to 14 grams per day, and in the last 2 months, I've been working so much that I'm pleased with that. I'm fine that it dropped down. The first 2 months of the year, I was at an average of 19 grams per day. I was really chugging along, and because I like knit holding a bunch of scraps double, that like re-knit repair project in March, that went really fast. That like boosted my gram count a little bit for that month. And that brings my total of yarn. I have bought quite a bit of yarn this year. I know I started somewhere in the 3,000s, and the total stash that's been in the total for this year, so what I started with plus what I've added, is up to 4,853 grams. That's what it would have been if I hadn't been knitting at all this year. but in the past 5 months, I've knit over half of that already. And since that's only 5 months of the year, we're not halfway done yet. That means I am still on track to run out of yarn this year if I continue in this regard. And I do have like lots of plans for most of this. Hello, it is the end of the day on June 30th, 10:45 p.m. I've done all of my weigh-ins on all my little fingering scraps that I'm working on right now, which is a lot. I'm about to show you why, and it's very exciting. I'm so happy. I knit 450 grams, like almost exactly 450 grams in the month of June, 15 grams per day, which is pretty good considering I only have been knitting fingering weight the last couple of months. So the amount of grams I knit has been a little bit lower than when I had some DK projects in the first quarter of the year. I was at like 19 to 20-ish grams per day that I could knit because I was at a heavier weight. So the yardage I think that I knit is probably about the same. So far I've knit 2,907 grams in 6 months, so nearly 3,000 grams. So what's remaining in my stash right now, after I was below 2,000 grams for my stash, and then I updated the ball of sock yarn I bought as like a souvenir on vacation in Montana. So once I put that in, I'm at 2,058. So later this week, I'll be below 2,000 again. That's no big deal. This is my new ball of yarn from Montana. It is, I guess I can just take this out, 10% nylon. It is Mountain Aurora fibers. And it doesn't have a color name, but I was in Billings. It's hand-dyed in Billings. They told me about this. I'll have to look it up and let you know more about it whenever I make these, probably socks, but I might make a shirt with it. You never know. You never know with me if it's going to be socks or a tank top. It could be either. So this is really, really pretty. It caked up really well also. This was like the only pastel one they had. They didn't have a lot of like locally dyed sock yarns. There was a lot of prettier colors by this dyer that were in like heavier weights as well. So I just grabbed one of the sock ones. This one was what I decided to go with. I think it's time to say goodnight. Rosie's coming over to say hi, which is fun. I'm just gonna let her. This is my cat. She's a really beautiful, really sweet girl, as you can see. What do you think? What do you think? Good girl, Rose Rose. Yeah. She's a good cat. Do you want my water? Do you want the water? Yeah. Thank you for joining me at our mid-year update. I'm sorry that's a little sleepy. But we will have, by now, I think this is going to be the end of my podcast, actually. So by now you've seen what I've been working on, and I know my voice is all fried, and I'm sorry. Good night!